Athletic Injury by Teresa Chang, Matthew Granados, and Anthony Carabay.
What is an injury? An injury is trauma to the body that results in at least temporary, but sometimes permanent, physical disability and inhibition of motor function. It is perceived to be multifaceted and is operationalized as participating while feeling pain so that the pain or injury needs mental attention, involves some sort of loss/change in function that directly affects performance, and the injured person must decide whether to continue sport participation while experiencing pain or injury. What causes injuries? Physical factors such as muscle imbalance, high-speed collision, overtraining, and physical fatigue. Social factors, which are one's perception of playing with pain. Psychological factors, which is increased anxiety or loss of focus or attention. Personality factors, such as levels of optimism, self-esteem, hardiness, and trait anxiety, and stress levels. Athletes with poor coping skills and little social support have a greater risk of injury when experiencing major life changes. Psychologically based explanations for injury. Act tough and give 100%. This slogan can increase injuries, as rewarding this effort without recognizing possible injuries can cause injury. Sport ethic. The normalization of playing through an injury that leads to them being more valued by coaches, jeopardizing their health. If you're injured, you're worthless. Coaches may convey winning is more important than an athlete's well-being, and athletes want to feel worthy, so they play through injuries, making it worse.
When it comes to emotional responses to injuries, there are 5 stages of grief. Number 1, denial. Comes with avoidance, shock, fear, and confusion. Number 2 is anger. Comes with anxiety, irritation, and frustration. Number 3, bargaining. It comes with the struggle to find meaning of what happened, as well as the struggle to reach out to others. Number 4 is depression. It comes with helplessness, hostility, being overwhelmed, and flight. Number 5, acceptance and reorganization, moving on and putting a new plan in place. Here are 3 general categories of responses to injuries. Injury-relevant information processing. The athlete processes information related to pain, awareness of the extent of the injury, and questions how the injury happened. Positive outlook and coping. The athlete accepts the injury, employs positive coping strategies, and shows optimism and a good attitude. Lastly, emotional upheaval and reactive behavior. Realization of the injury may lead to the athlete becoming emotionally agitated with feelings of isolation and self-pity. Here are psychological reactions to injury. Identity loss. An important part of their personal identity is stripped away, so the athlete is left lost, affecting self-concept. Fear and anxiety. Athletes have a lot of time to think when they go through an injury because they are away from their work, so fear and anxiety occur. Lack of confidence. Due to being away from the game or competition because of an injury, they may lose confidence because of not being where they once were. Performance decrements. With injuries, it can come with lowered confidence, resulting in post-injury decline in performance. Group process. Injury to an athlete can affect group processes to a team that can be both positive or negative.
Now, outside of a few media gatherings, Adidas ads, we hadn't heard much from you since the time the injury occurred. Why was that?
I didn't want to do anything, to tell you the truth. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to rebuild my leg and be around my son. That was the time where me having a son is huge for me. It's real big. My father wasn't ever in my life, so he's first now and with anything.
After many interview requests, why Bulls TV?
I chose Bulls TV because it's more like family, where I think if I'm going to do anything first, why not start with the people that you grew up with, the people that trust in you, believe in you. Not saying that everybody else don't, but it's homegrown, so why not start with the Bulls?
For the first time, you missed a complete season of basketball. How was it dealing with it mentally?
It was hard. One of the hardest things I ever had to go through in my life. After surgery, when you start running, like when you have an injury like this, it's stages that you have to go through. I'm still going through my stages. I'm not done yet, but I think this is the most I ever worked on my craft and the most focused I ever been in my NBA career. I'm not a selfish guy at all, but having this injury and knowing what I had to go through and being smart, this is something that I had to be selfish with. I couldn't worry about anyone else but myself and my health.
Many were speculating that you did look dominant in practice. Explain to us the difference between being practice ready and NBA game ready.
When you're in practice, of course, it's not like game-like speed unless it's like training camp. Game-like experience is totally different, where you got strategies, you got this and that double teams. When I play, I get double teamed a lot. We play the same defense how we play in the game, so it wasn't that many double teams. So I was like able to go around freely, roam around freely. In the game, I wasn't able to take on that double team yet. Every day I was working out, like my leg was gonna feel better. I was pushing myself every day, eating right, just trying to take care of my body so that I could be out there as soon as possible, but it didn't happen.
How impressed were you with how the season wound up?
I was very, very impressed with them. They seemed like they were fighting for me. They saw how hard I was working in practice, just trying to rebuild my leg. All my teammates that were going through injuries, they used to tell me don't rush back just because they were going through stuff. So just to hear them say that, they knew that I was trying to get back on the court as quickly as possible. They made a good run at it. When they were playing, I was telling them certain things that I saw if they didn't see it, or I was just working with them just to show them that I really cared about the team. And like I said, they fought for me.
Tell us about your relationship with Tom Thibodeau. How often you communicate? What is it that like on a day-to-day basis?
With Tibbs, we're super cool right now. We talk at least a couple of times through the week. Missed his call a couple of times. He hates when I do that. But missed his call a couple of times. I got to call him back. But he's someone that loves the game as much as me, and that's pretty hard, man. If you love basketball more than I do, I got to take off my hat to you.
Any personal goals for next season?
It's only one goal, and that's to win the championship.
What do you want to tell your fans? What have you wanted to say to them for the last year and a half?
Me saying it is something totally different. I think me going on the court and showing them will let them know that it was the right decision.
Key points. Rose states that when you go through an injury, you go through stages. His plan for the road back is to take it back a notch and focus on himself. This relates to trying to avoid distractions so he does not obtain any setbacks. Notice that Rose never let any of his injuries and being away from the game stop him from getting back to where he wanted to be, which is back to the game. Key points continued. One emotional response to injury that Rose faced was positive outlook and coping, as he was able to accept that he was injured and focused on himself and his health so that he can make a full recovery by employing positive coping strategies and showing optimism and a good attitude. One psychological reaction that Rose faced was performance decrements, as Rose was training as much as he could to get back where he was initially, but that did not happen, as injuries can lower one's confidence, resulting in decline of performance. Another psychological reaction he faced was group processes, as injuries to an athlete can affect group processes to a team in a positive or negative way. Rose's injury had a positive effect on his team because they were fighting for him, and he showed that he cared for them during the game, which allowed the team to work together to be better and not have his injury affect them. Questions for the class. If you've had an injury before, what were some factors that might have caused the injury and some psychological reactions or emotional responses you might have experienced? If you haven't had an injury before, is there someone you know or a professional athlete that you know that has faced some psychological reactions or emotional responses, and what factors may have contributed to their injury? Thank you for watching our video.